1, indicated as SPL number 14.3-1-5.100.
Thank you, please.
That's it.
Did anyone sign up to speak?
I did.
Do you, a general question, do you have the public hearing first?
Yes.
Am I saying something?
Public hearings
So I'm not, I can sit down.
Yes, sir.
I haven't signed it.
Yep, sure.
He's just practicing. The one he's chair.
Go down the list of what's on first. All right, so the first person up is Hillary Smith.
Hi, I'm Hillary Smith. I'm not really here to comment on the site plan specific or the use, but I just wanted to understand a little bit about the zoning rationale and how this came to be in front of the planning board. My understanding is that the property is in a mapped floodway zone, which is a specific zoning district in the town of Shandaken's zoning law, within which no development is permitted except for like campgrounds or public recreation use. And then Shandaken also has another zone, which is the 100-year floodplain outside of the floodway, which the floodway is a specific part of the 100-year floodplain. The 100-year floodplain outside of the floodway is subject to the flood fringe overlay district standards, which are in your zoning ordinance in 11641. So I'm not sure how you're able to tell with just an elevation certificate and without having the actual location of the FEMA floodway mapped on the property, whether or not there's any development permitted on this parcel at all. The zoning regulation doesn't have anything to do with the elevation of the building. It talks about the property. So when I look at this property and I look at the extent of the floodway, which is this red hatched area, and how much of that is over the existing development, it says to me that there's no development permitted in this area of the parcel. So therefore, it doesn't seem that this would be permitted at all. When you have a special zoning district like a floodway zoning district, and it says no commercial uses are allowed, you can't rely on the R3 underlying zoning to say that it is allowed by special permit, because it's already been specifically X'd, it's not permitted. So until you have a clear understanding of where these zoning districts affect this particular parcel, you can't be sure if you're looking at something that's completely not allowable, or if something is allowable but subject to those overlay regulations. And I didn't see anything in the application materials that I looked at really quickly that went through those additional standards for flood fringe overlay. It has a whole list of additional standards and engineering analyses and things that the planning board has to determine that this development in this location can meet in order to qualify for that, that special permit. And I don't see that in these application materials at this time. I don't think you have a complete application from which you can make a determination, and I don't think you have a complete application from which you can make a reliable seeker determination. I think that if you want to rely on all of this information provided by the applicant, you at least need to have these lines mapped in the field and added to this plan so you know if you're complying with zoning. And even if you determine that you think it works and that it's permissible, I highly suggest that you refer the engineered materials out to the planning board or town's own engineer to just make sure that what they're proposing to do isn't going to either adversely impact, this property or the ability for our first responders to access this property in the event of an emergency, or the adequacy of this existing driveway to accommodate commercial vehicles. Even as it's improved, it's in a substantial dip, and the railroad runs in that dip, and I'm not really sure that you can come up with a safe way for trucks and other emergency vehicles to load in and out of there under extreme circumstances for a commercial development. So, those are my comments. As far as what she proposes to do, it looks very sweet. I think it's a nice use. We do happen to have 3 restaurants, I think, for sale in the Shandaken area already. And so it seems a little bit questionable why you would want somebody to jump through all of these hoops in a location that may not be environmentally appropriate or publicly safe for what's proposed, or even permitted under zoning.
Are you aware of any information that Hillary might not be aware of?
Well, what she's speaking about is specifically our flood fringe, our own Shandaken code. And some of the things she says are true, but I quickly read through it, and I don't see anything that this certifies that would not be the case. I sat down with Rob Stanley, who's the town's CFM. We looked at the numbers together, and he agreed that there was sufficient 1 foot above the flood from the 2016 firm map and 2 feet of freeboard, which is required in New York State, which is more restrictive than federal. So Don's a CFM. When he gets here, he can look at this document. But this document, which is stamped this morning by William Robert Eggers, certified engineer, and this notarized certificate both indicate that the first floor of the restaurant is above floodplain by 2 feet.
Okay. Should we hear from the next person? Yeah. Allison, am I pronouncing this correctly? Thoreau?
Yes. No, she was the next one on the list. We are the owners of the property adjacent to the applicant on Lower High Street. And we just have some questions and concerns we'd like to address the board. Now, our property, since we are residential, we're concerned whether this will have an impact on any of our activities on our property, recreational activities on our property, or if there'll be any restrictions since it will be commercial next to us. We have family that uses the property. We do
recreationally, and are there any restrictions?
Right. We have ski shooting and we have ATVs and that. We're just concerned, does that impact, are any restrictions on us, on our property?
No.
Okay.
None at all. So we are free to do what we continue
your own
to
property,
do
right.
regardless of commercial.
Yes.
Okay, great.
Okay, and we had a chance, which is nice, to look at the
Yeah,
plans,
this is great.
opportunities, so we see where the entrance to the restaurant will be coming in. Now, will it be paved or will it be a dirt entranceway?
It will not be big.
It will not be
It
paved.
doesn't speak that.
Okay. And the number of parking spaces?
16.
16, okay. And will there be any fencing along the property? I'm not sure if I should address the board or you. No fencing?
No fencing. No fencing.
Okay.
So no new
No
fencing.
fencing at all. If anything, like deer wire
Yep, okay.
around some vegetables.
Your property is at the first entrance,
We're 40 Lower
Lower
High
High
Street.
Street.
so you're before the railway museum. You go
We're
in-
actually
After.
after, and we're right against their property.
So between the railroad museum and
Yes,
And you-
Correct.
we have
and-
an acreage.
Yes, that's what I meant.
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
Between the railway museum and their property.
And their property,
Yeah.
yes.
And you have an entrance that,
Our
when you're
entrance
coming
is
down
off
from
Lower High
28,
Street.
you go
Yes.
in that.
Yeah, ours goes off of Lower High Street, while their property goes off.
You have a metal gate there?
Yeah.
Yes.
Uh,
Yeah, metal
Yeah,
gate
yes,
goes down.
right.
Yes,
Yes.
and I saw somebody watering something.
Yep. That was probably us. Now, I'm not sure if it's septic there or sewer, and will that change?
The applicant knows better.
Yeah. Septic or sewer
Is
there?
this a public hearing?
Yes.
Okay, so typically, we don't engage in a public hearing.
Now,
Okay, well, our
usually
question
the
is whether
public
it's septic
hearing
or sewer.
is for you to come
Know the
and
answer.
express your like or dislike of the project.
Okay, well, we're not against the project, but we just have concerns with the project.
There's no sewer.
No sewer.
No,
So
there's no
septic.
sewer, yes.
So then the septic, would the septic have to be added onto? It's only for a small house now.
Board of Health will get involved.
So the Board of Health hasn't approved this yet.
I don't believe so, I haven't seen it.
Okay, because if it is septic, obviously they're going to have to upgrade the septic to support the restaurant
Before they get a building permit.
before they get the building
They have to
permit.
have,
So additional leaching fields and that.
Yes.
Gotcha.
This will be considered as part of the special permit process, not the building permit process.
It's a special permit. And as far as the lighting, will there be any illumination, outdoor illumination that would be visible from our property?
Well,
No. Will only be on the ground.
Dumpsters, where would they be located, or would they be enclosed or screened?
They will be in the parking lot, and there's many, many, many yards of trees that surround it completely, yeah.
Okay. And deliveries, commercial deliveries, is
Right,
this
right in
same?
the driveway,
Same
spot.
entrance?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. And is there a timeline as far as when you expect to be up and running?
Long time from now, probably over a year.
Okay. Okay, did you have any other?
No, just our general concern is always the amount of traffic that happens to come across our property. Like anything, we are residential and this turns to commercial. Our goal was to understand today, not to necessarily prevent anything, but to understand what this impact would be, because we don't want it to change our property as we know it and how we use it and how we respect it. I also wanted to make sure that we always worry about additional trespassing, because we have a lot.
We have a lot of it
We
on
have
our
a lot of
property.
that as it is.
Us as well, coming from
Yeah.
both
And
sides too,
even,
yes.
although we place many signs up, as we change these things and flip them, it becomes easy access for other people to get on. I would have concern with flooding, because I've seen it. I mean, we've had this property for a long time, and I'm not sure how I get any of this with this flood zone, because it is what it is.
Well, he has a document here that says he will cause no rise in the waters of the asserted stream.
It doesn't say that the house will get washed away or all of its accoutrements won't be washed downstream.
Right.
Yeah, but that's really from anywhere else.
Yeah,
We've seen it all.
I know, but when you're going
I've
from
seen it all.
something smaller to something that's more impactful, that's.
Right, in the sense of changing anything, and as I understand it, it's going to be the same. So I think we're good.
Yep.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
There's one more.
And the last speaker on this list is Michael Chaffee.
Hello, I own the property, I guess, adjacent to the Phoenicia Diner, and I'm in full support of this project. I think, another restaurant in the area would just bring in more people, and these folks have an incredible reputation, so I think it's just gonna be one more jewel in the crown of this town, so I'm all for it. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
What was your name? What were your name?
Allison Tyro and Noel Turner.
Can you show me where your property is on this?
Sure. We're on this. This is us over here. This is 28 over here. We're on this side.
You're on the Lower High Street.
Lower High Street.
The railroad.
Yeah, right.
And our entrance is on Lower, I come off 28 to Lower High Street.
heard from everyone.
Okay, there's no one else for,
I got here just a few minutes late. I didn't hear the presentation.
should she have your name?
You don't have my name.
Yeah, you should.
Okay.
So I didn't hear the presentation. Vince Collins on
Well, the presentation wasn't made. We would like the gentleman to make a presentation. Do you want to make that?
Oh, okay, fine. I just wanted to know what was going on.
Okay, sorry, Brad, I didn't get here in time. You want to give us a summary so that everybody here understands? I mean, you've already talked to the planning board, but the public needs to know, have an idea exactly what's going on.
Sure, I'd be happy to. So a lot of this, we reviewed last month, the civil engineering, the site plan, which shows all of the contours and zoning. As you know, it's not in this set, it was in the one that was last month, which is available to the public for the last month reviewing. So, you know, we took what we heard from you last month and we incorporated it, including the signage design and adding, now this is the older one, but the newer engineering drawing was submitted, and that shows the two handicap spots that we talked about. So we have the refuse container, recycling, low lighting along the pathway from the parking lot to the restaurant, and the single pole that illuminates the parking, which is, if we measure it from the property line, is a good couple hundred feet from the property line, so there's no light falling onto the neighbor's property. And
Downcast lighting from the pole?
no, yes, and that's on the civil engineering part. You know, we worked closely with the DOT to make sure that the access way was safe and widened, and the slope is per DOT standards. You know, all the information has been submitted already, so you have it. The question of the flood elevation was addressed with the zero elevation rise letter, with the newly issued certificate based on the newer FEMA maps that was submitted. And the only remaining question, I think, beyond that was the how we're going to treat the location in the floodway in terms of, you know, an option that was a dry floodproofing solution or a wet floodproofing solution. And to that end, I had a conversation with Rob, who's the floodplain manager for Shandaken, and we reviewed both options, and as I have with the engineers in the project. And we feel that there's, and that's what was submitted last week to your understanding, which shows two options for this. And, you know, I think it's safe to say our preferred option is a wet floodproofing, which would have us build in flood vents that are, you know, designed to meet FEMA standards and flood flow standards. They would be installed at the crawl space level and also above the floor level. And these are insulated flood vents. I gave Howie the cut sheet for this, and we're working with the flood vent company they provide the engineering, design work, and they even will work with the flood insurance company to ensure that it's, the resulting structure is in compliance with the standards of to receive flood insurance. So that's the dry floodproofing solution, and that would allow us to keep the house where it is on its foundation. You know, obviously with structural upgrades to the structure itself, but it negates the need for a ramp system, which is shown in the set for the wet floodproofing option, which would have us raise the entire house by several feet. And in order to do that, we would have to put in an ADA compliant ramp system to get to the front door. And where it's located is also in this flow, so it does not, reviewed this with the engineer as well, very bad environment. And where we have it situated also complies and meets his standards for zero elevation rise. Yeah, the no rise. So, you know, we know that either option would work, essentially. There would be no rise, no impact to adjoining or even this property itself. And in fact, I think a lot of us know that there's no history of the flood levels ever getting up to this house to begin with, but in case they ever did, either one of these solutions would provide an adequate response to any flooding that occurred. So I think were there other items from last month that we need to address? I'm happy to.
The only thing that I'm a little concerned about is that now your engineer took some elevations of the lowest grade and highest grade in the first floor.
Yep.
But the base flood elevation that you have given us is the one from 2002.
No, you have a new copy.
There's a new one in
that-
there. There's a 4-page.
I put it on top of your folder.
This elevation certificate, November 30th.
This one is dated July 8th. And it's a 4-page document stamped by William Eggers. And that shows the current elevations.
So we're talking about what, floodproofing about 10 feet.
No, we're not talking about that.
The 773.9 is the base flood elevation. And the top of the bottom floor,
Well, that's the basement, and that would be filled in.
you're gonna fill it in.
Yeah. The floor we're looking at is the main finish level, the conditioned space. And as I said, as part of that, in this package that I submitted last week, it shows two sets of elevations. One where it would respond with a dry floodproofing system using the smart vents.
Yeah.
And that, we know because of the area, it's about 1,550 square foot building, and these will handle up to 200 square feet per vent. So we know that we need about 5, well, actually the gentleman I spoke with at the company said 5 would suffice. And what we do is we would locate those 5 along the north and the south walls, the crawl space level, at the crawl space level, and another 5 or 6 above the floor level. So that there would actually be vents that could allow the flow of floodwaters, if it ever got that high, to pass right through. And this company is flood insurance compliant.
Okay.
I'd like to hear you go through the special standards for development and the flood fringe overlay, 11641.
This is a public hearing. We won't be doing it.
I'm a little confused. Is this floodplain or floodplain? I
Well,
don't see on the map.
no,
the
it's-
line of delineation.
Yeah, no, I think it was on the civil engineering site plan. It shows the line of where the flood.
Is that here?
I believe it's in here.
It was in your folder last month.
Last one. It's not in this,
So it's on the site plan, you say?
from the civil site. Not
That's
this
the new one.
That's not, that's the survey.
So it's not in this set of drawings.
That's the survey.
What's the new one?
So this set or just do all?
Yeah. So where this line is the, this is the architectural section that works, because that line is where the floodway begins. So the house restaurant and the garage are up here, the proposed parking is right here, and the floodway starts right here, from the here forward.
So it is in floodway.
Yeah,
not in
yeah, we've
floodway.
been working with the assumptions since
Right,
day one.
that's why we were worried about the water rise.
Yeah, and right, and that's why we had all the documentation here.
So this is floodplain over here?
See, that's your
This is
AE zone,
floodway.
and that's the floodway, correct.
What's the section in the ordinance that says floodway? Is it buildable in a floodway?
No.
So do they have to go to the ZBA for a variance to build this?
No, I don't think
Can't
so.
build in
He
the
has
You
a,
cannot build in the floodway.
No, I understand, that's what the question is.
They could try for a variance, perhaps that might be an option.
he could go to the theme of it, according to this document, that he doesn't need that because he's giving us a no
It's
rise
not building,
certificate.
it's, your use is not allowed in the floodway.
There's no rise in the
That's why we're
floodway.
before the
I
plan.
understand that, Howard, but if this is designated floodway, then you don't have the authority to override that. That's a FEMA thing. Now, if you have an engineering letter there that you've presented to FEMA,